Hello everyone, if anyone actually watches. Um, this is just how I'm looking at the market, not financial advice, all that sort of stuff. This is just how I get my head right for the coming days and weeks and things. I'm going to start today with basically just the daily Bitcoin. Didn't do anything over the weekend because I figured it was looking like probably going sideways anyway. And quite interestingly, we are dancing around all these moving averages and stuff. So the first day we pretty well stayed in between the mid band of the Gaussian channel and the lower band of the pi cycle indicator. We have come back up above that a little bit, just under an hour to go. It tapped right into that daily 50 as well as that most traded volume area. So good point for it to bounce, a good sort of retrace, I guess, if we're going to see more downside, which, look, the trend is still down at the moment. A lot of the stochastic momentum let's just do stochastic RSI. Let's do that one, sorry. Oh, fuck. Son of a bitch. Stochastic momentum index. That's the one I want. It's on the daily, it's actually bottoming out from a momentum perspective, which is interesting. But we are in the bearish control zone there. Typically, I would probably use different settings on this, but it looks like it aligns pretty well on the daily so far. It's a bit laggy, but the longer term time frames, we need to see a bit of a higher close to actually flip that stochastic momentum. Like if we would go to the 2-day, I think it's still very much down. Even the weekly, I think, might be just about to turn down potentially. That's a pretty wicked weekly close too. So just based on this, on the weekly, the pi cycle indicator, it's closed above, which is interesting, given that we haven't seen a close below that since, this sort of October last year. So yeah, that's an interesting data point, but we are also closing below that most traded volume area. Looks like we may even close below the wick on this weekly candle as well. It's going to be pretty close, 66,660. Yeah, very close. Anyway, so in general, momentum is still, you would call it still bearish. We could flip that, at least in the short term, if we do actually see this cross to the upside. But whenever it's in this bearish control zone, sort of less than 40, you've got to be very careful because bounces can be met with further selling. But it does look pretty oversold on the stochastic momentum. It's just we're in a spot here where if it goes, it'll go quick in either direction, I think. And given the overall stock market and economy, what it looks like, it's almost a coin toss at the moment. But yeah, good retrace, quite a high chance that we will actually see further downside. Whether the mid-band of the Gaussian channel can hold it up or not will be interesting. I suspect not, but it's going to depend on today's candle, I think, as to which way we like the direction for the rest of the week, or at least the next couple of days. So, as in the next day's candle, not this one. This one is interesting. It's posturing bullish, but there's just a lot of headwinds to go further up at the moment. If we do go up to like the next day, I'd expect this 20 moving average to be a resistance. So just keep that in mind. That's sitting at about 67,800 at the moment. But yeah, this is looking juicy down in here for the pullback. The only thing is it doesn't have to do it straight away. That's, you know, it's all about timing, but over the next week or two, I wouldn't be surprised if we do visit the 62k sort of region. Okay, on the shorter time frames, I'll just quickly look at this one. Decent sort of move up, but at the moment, to me, this is looking like more of just a recovery of some liquidity up here. That looks like a bit of a stop run. It's interesting too, that's sort of the New Zealand kind of open time. Surprising amount of volume for that time of day. So could be getting prepared for Asia to rip it to the downside. Sydney's open, but we must be poor or non-existent in the Bitcoin market at the moment because it doesn't seem to be doing much when Sydney opens. I'd be waiting for Asia in a couple of hours. So yeah, like the lack of follow through on these vector candles here, like it's still low volume, but just the lack of follow through tends to mean it's just liquidity hunts and trying to basically build positions to go further into the short side. Sometimes it can just be a grind up, but yeah, at the moment, still choppy. Like over the weekend, that was just dead sideways. So, yeah, looking for basically probably a pullback. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit the 15-minute 800 EMA, which again is up around that 67,450. So if we align it with the daily, and we had that 20 moving average at 67,800-ish, would not be surprised if we we've already bounced off the 200 EMA there, somehow work our way up here, potentially go through it into that 67,800 region, and then come back down. Now, the caveat to that is I wouldn't expect it to go straight up and then come straight back down. We may actually find a retest of this 800, and if it retests and then breaks above again, that would actually be, that would change me to more bullish. Okay, that's sort of the invalidator for me at the moment. But we've closed all our short positions at the moment, and we're just waiting for another signal to come in. Overall, yeah, it's teetering on the edge. A break below and a confirmation below this 200 EMA is probably going to lead to more downside over the next couple of days, I would think. And given there's not many vectors to recover in this region here, it would mean a fairly big trip to the downside. So that's why I think it's probably going to go more for the liquidity up here for the time being. And maybe attack further down later. Just head back to Bitcoin longs, so we'll see what that's doing. Still dropping. We haven't seen any real pick back up yet, even though Bitcoin's sort of suppressed from the levels that it was at. Haven't seen much pickup. We're still dropping off the longs, so that's an interesting chart. I will just go to have a quick look at Ethereum longs. What's that? Shorts? Sorry, not Bitcoin shorts. ETH BTC, where's my fucking, there it is. Yeah, BTC USD short. So it has had a bit of a pickup, slight drop off in the last day. If we keep seeing a drop off in this, then I'd expect a pickup in the longs and potentially we'd probably still be going down. So yeah, again, it's kind of leaning towards more bearish at the moment, just based on those. I'll come back in here to the NASDAQ again, closed, made new highs. Things are ridiculous. Global liquidity, the orange line there is still going down. So not great. S&P 500 didn't make a new high, so that's interesting. And stochastic momentum looks like it might start to turn down soon. So this could be finally reaching peaks. Consumer sentiment studies and stuff like that came back quite weak as well recently, so maybe the stock market's finally getting wind of what's happening. I know there have been a lot of big dark pool transactions at the tops recently, so yeah, it's just a matter of when. Obviously with S&P and NASDAQ and stuff, you trade shorter time frames generally. They're it's hard to get bottoms and tops on long time frames in S&P. What is for my eye anyway? IWM is struggling. It's heading back down. So again, expect probably maybe a little bounce around the 195 mark, but I'd at least be expecting it to come down to 191, just showing that smaller companies are still struggling, which we kind of knew anyway. The industrials are down as well. Bit of support for it there though. We haven't broken this low yet. If we break that low, then it's probably going down quite a way. There ain't much stopping it. Yeah, that'll be a decent correction, I would think. XLY, XLP, again, it is headed down. We didn't break above this level, so it's suggesting the economy is weakening still. DJI versus gold is still tracking down. Generally signifies a correction is imminent. That's the interesting one. The DAX dropped like a stone. So that's the German market there. Dropped quite significantly. Dixie is up. Now there is a suggestion that when the Dixie's going up and yields are going up, that's kind of a signal that there's going to be a crash as well. So just keep an eye out for that. I haven't looked too far into that personally, but just another, I guess, warning sign there. The VIX has bounced a little bit. The VIX is still super low though. But again, looks like it's probably going to make its way up, which means we're probably going to go down in the market soon. TLT is up as well, which, yeah, to me is interesting. Yeah, I think bonds market pretty much thought we were you know, no, I'm not going to say that. Don't worry. Just had a rethink. Anyway, TLT's up, which is good. Got some of them in my super account. Bonds are up. Testing these highs again. That's interesting. Bonds have been trending up a little bit, like overall trend, but geez, it's been choppy. We need to break out of this range to the upside. If we break out to the upside, then expect S&P 500 to go on another run, just to screw everyone over as everyone's starting to get more bullish, more bearish. Sorry. Don't think it's going to go down when you think it's going to go down. So high yield is down though, so interesting. Kind of all over the shop this market, which is pretty well what you expect. Skew has dropped. That's potentially the start of a sign that we are going to get that drop off. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen it come down a bit more. If we do get more of a downside on the skew, like if we come back into these levels here on the skew, then, and we haven't dropped yet on the S&P 500, then I would expect it to drop pretty soon after that. Okay, copper is still down / sideways. Oops. Could be finding a base here, but it's not really any key moving average sort of levels. The Gaussian channel, yeah, but copper doesn't necessarily respect the Gaussian channel as well as other assets. And if the economy is shit, then expect copper to sort of come back down into these levels anyway, which that 200 EMA is a pretty attractive level for copper, I think. 4.16. Uranium, don't worry about that. Gold is flat. Get rid of this price cycle. Oh man, my mouse. So yeah, gold's pretty flat, but it actually looks like it's pushing to try and push higher at the moment. Yeah, it's an interesting level in gold. It's closed above the 50 EMA. It didn't break through the 20 EMA on the daily. If we break above that, then we could get a decent push on gold. So it's one to watch, I would think, too. Silver would be pretty similar, yeah. Aussie dollar struggling against the US dollar. Not a huge amount, given the US dollar did make a decent recovery. What's the euro doing? Euro might find a base here. Interesting week on that one. Money supply is still pretty flat on the M1. M2 is still increasing slightly. 2-year, 10-year is up. So people still think short-term bonds are the play. 2-year definitely outpacing the 10-year now. Still suggesting we're not gonna have a big recession yet. In terms of the market's not going to drop like a stone yet. That's the overall. Again, just lack of breadth in the market. So percent of stocks above the 50-day moving average. We've got a new low on this little downtrend here, so that's not a great sign. We did see a pickup. We thought that was going to be quite bullish, but nope. Generally, the stock market is driven by the big guys. And it looks like we may have a little bit of a turn. Stochastic momentum has just crossed to the downside, although it's still well and truly in this bullish control zone. So one to watch out for. But the fact that they've started to sell off a little bit, could be a fake out. You don't often get massive drops after such little ones here, but we'll see. It's not looking super confident. Low volume again on these, so it's these low volume environments you can actually get reasonably quick moves, because Wall Street can move the market a bit easier on low volume. So just be careful, I guess. Oil reached right into that zone that we thought it would, and looks like it may roll over, but yeah, this will be interesting. If oil rolls and heads to the downside again, that could see the S&P 500 and Nasdaq move up a bit. But if we break through this 200 EMA, then obviously if we clear these, it'd be better. But if we break through the 200 EMA and sort of reconfirm that and move up, that would be a pretty significant move, and that would probably see again a downturn in the market. So that's the Aussie market has been struggling a bit too. So just like the RSP, the Aussie market's probably a better indication of what's actually going on, because it's primarily mining, minerals, and banking are the primary elements of the Aussie 200. So those tend to not do great in poor economies, so they are heading down. And that was an interesting close last Friday. It should be opening soon. But yeah, posture to the downside on the daily still. We'd have to see a pretty significant turnaround at this point. You do quite often see turnarounds on the mid-band of the stochastic momentum indicator, but doesn't look like the Aussie likes doing that very much. These sort of regions here, you can see changes there, but looks reasonably rare. Maybe a pause, but she's well and truly postured to the downside at the moment. That's probably about it. Sol and a few of the altcoins are found a bit of a bottom here by the look of that. This might just be a retrace into the 50 EMA on the daily, mid-band of the Gaussian. A lot of them dropped pretty hard when Bitcoin dropped, so it might be actually a time for altcoins to pick up a little bit. Where's Bitcoin dominance? Yeah, so Bitcoin dominance is dropping, so that makes sense. Might have a little mini altcoin run here. ETH is picking up in terms of its dominance, so needs to break above this to get a proper breakout on ETH, I would think, relative to others. You'd have to break above this 800 EMA. It's going to be an interesting level. It does seem to respect it a bit. Yeah, it looks like ETH might be the play in the short term. It's right up against that 20 EMA at the moment though. So it will be interesting. I mean, it does have the ETF coming out as well. soonish. Yeah. Kind of hard to pick this one, but overall, generally, still market is bearish with maybe some alts probably being the play in terms of bounces off 200 EMAs, retrace into 50 EMAs, that sort of thing. So it looks like FDM, for instance, that's potentially going to be a decent move up into here. 15% moves, nothing to laugh at, really. Stochastic is very low and looks like it's heading to the upside as well. This close, so what's that? Yeah, it looks like that's going to cross above today. Again, bearish control zone, but it's an interesting level anyway. It's probably a fairly low risk play if we put a long position on that. I might even actually take this trade setup. Probably pull up stumps there. Not a bad risk reward ratio there, 2.31. You could even stop it just there and still get pretty decent risk reward on that. So yeah, keep an eye out for those that are trading on opportunities within the altcoins at the moment. I think Bitcoin might be a bit boring in comparison. Sol probably not going to move quite as much, but I wouldn't. Yeah, looking at this, I'm not expecting huge things. Like this has got a lot of moving averages to break through there. This to me looks more like a retrace play. So found a bit of a bottom there, retrace into the moving averages, and then probably come down into this 200 moving average, which would you'd probably break below it on the wicks on the daily, and you pick up some of the liquidity in and around here. So that's kind of what I'm looking for over the next week anyway. So maybe a day or two of upside and then further downside. Okie dokie, that's going to pull me up, I think. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there in the US. We don't celebrate till September, but happy Father's Day, and good on Bryson DeChambeau for winning the Open too. That was awesome.